Dre and Jay were taking hip-hop to a whole new level.
It was all a dream.
And everything was fly.
Sirius XM Fly.
A channel featuring hip-hop and R&B from the 90s and 2000s. To listen to Sirius XM Fly, activate your subscription now by calling 844-711-8800 or head over to SiriusXM.com to sign up quickly.
Amazing moments happen so much at SiriusXM. We want you to see them. SiriusXM Video lets you watch your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SiriusXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artist you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer. Amazing moments happen so much at SiriusXM. We want you to see them. SiriusXM Video lets you watch your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SiriusXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artist you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
Beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern.
We're going to win back the White House. We're going to make this country greater than it's ever been.
With post-debate coverage on Triumph, Otis, Sirius XM Patriot, and Sirius XM Progress. Call in to have your voice heard.
My generation wants answers.
ABC News Presidential Debate, Tuesday, live on the Sirius XM News and political channels.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, follow us in. You gotta get this. You gotta get this.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018-14868.
Rondo Deportes, bonjour, vidi vidi vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to me and people who love the universe, and that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up, fool, I'm trying to watch the kickoff. Ended up for the kickoff as they're tailgating in Denver Hills, California for the New York Jets. They flew across to the West Coast to take on the Bang Bang Niner games, the descending NFC champion San Francisco 49ers and Monday Night Football, all's friend love award. I want to say on a beautiful September the 9th, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you where the good Lord split you. And hopefully the good Lord didn't split you too wide. If your split's not wide enough, just drive through some fast food restaurants and they got a wide split. Just order the double, or sometimes they just give them numbers because it's too hard to remember all the stuff, those splits. I want to say with Big C Sports Podcast, I love bringing you reparations. I love bringing you what's going on in the world of sports. We had Big C's high school football Friday Night Lights. We had national number 1 Mater Dei taking on national number 2 Bishop Gorman of Las Vegas, Nevada. And, of course, the good old boys from California won 31-15. That's Mater Dei, the defending national champions. Also, Mater Dei and Bishop Gorman have combined to win 6 of the last 8 national championships for high school football, all fair and level war. I want to say with Big C Sports Podcast, I got some college football wrap-up. What a big game. Texas going up to the big house, and they kicked in that door for the Wolverine. I had a quiz. I said, what would win a fight, a 1,500-pound bull or a 100-pound Wolverine? And people chose the bull. The bull won, but I wasn't expecting to beat them that bad, 31-12. At the big house, the defending national champions take their first regular season loss in many, many moons. And then also got some NFL football that I want to give some NFL wrap-ups. Things coming, and they go. But I got a lot of stuff I want to get into. One Big C Sports Podcast, I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter. I knew I could use more laughter. And then the commercials are done. The stats are provided. I do the storytelling. And then I do the play-by-play. Well, you say touchdown, Niners! Debo's at for 50 yards. Well, we'll see if that happens tonight against the Jets. The Jets have a really good defense. The Niners have a great offense. I think the Niners are favored by 4. I'll get into that game later. I have the 49ers winning the opening season game in Dimdare Hills, California. And then the show's uploaded to 25 podcast applications out of New York City and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And then number 10, I never missed a show since starting Big C Sports with the crew back in the days of Salem Media. And now we have people who miss practice. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about people who miss practice, the great Allen Iverson. Now we have people who miss practice, but I don't miss practice. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I do want to say what I never want to miss is paying homage to the Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced, helping veterans and their loved ones get help. I want to say, if you know anybody going through issues, you got to chant. Nam yo renke yo, nam yo renke yo, nam yo renke yo. That even tightens up the belly. You don't have to do as many sit-ups when you learn to chant because it tightens up your belly, if that makes sense to you. But for the Veterans Crisis Hotline, you don't have to be a veteran to call it, but you do need to call it if you're going through any kind of issues. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give it some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. And it sure is good when somebody's leaning back. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. And just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. I got some little boys talking about reparations. I still want to get my mind wrapped around what's going on with the world of reparations. It's been tabled. Some bills got through. Senate Bill 1050 got through. That's more important than who's going to win a game. That's more important to me. And several, we got the apology issue. I don't need an apology. I need my money. Show me the money! In the movie Jerry Maguire with Tom Cruise and Cuba Gooding Jr., the football movie, as an attorney and sports agent, and Cuba Gooding was telling Tom Cruise, Jerry Maguire, he didn't say, give me an apology. He said, show me the money! Show me the money. The Just Act, when they got the Just Act for the Descendants of Holocaust, they didn't say, give me an apology. They said, show me the money! You got to show us the money. And that's going to happen. It's going to happen by lawsuit, because that's how some people want things to happen, through a lawsuit. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I do want to say with Big C Sports Podcast, I got a lot to talk about today, and I want to make sure I do my best to get it out there. But we have a presidential nomination by the name of Dr. Cornel West. He's on Dr. Boyd Watkins' podcast today. I just want to play a few minutes when he was talking about reparations. But I'll get to it after I make sure my sneeze button works. Man, I had to sneeze. You ever have to sneeze? It's hard to stop sneezing midstream. Midstream, I was like, I want you to hear it. I said, oh, hold on. But I will play a little bit of that too. But I want to make sure that I get that out there. I got so much to talk about today. I love what I do with Big C Sports Podcast. I also want to pray out to the RDC team with Big C Sports. Got a lot of things coming. Love paying homage to the National Black Wall Street Project.com. There's a lot of good things happening in the world of sports and politics. But I want to make sure before I get into my sports, I got a lot of good stuff that's really on the top of my mind that I want to make sure I bring to you. Because if I could get the National Football League to follow what Big C's saying, last year on the back of the end zone, they had, it takes all of us under one goalpost. The other goalpost, it said, end racism. I think from what I've seen, they've changed it to choose love. And the other on the end still says, it takes all of us. And love is fine. But we got to do love for all the right things and all the right people. And I love having the talk that our society is creating an opportunity and a space for good people. You know, you people, to talk about things that are just and fair for everybody. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. So before I get into what's going on in the world of sports, I want you to hear something about reparations that's near and dear to my heart. And hopefully it will be near and dear to your heart too, because it will stimulate the economy. It will stimulate the economy.
Let's talk about reparations. That's a topic that seems to be something that is growing in terms of interest and conversation in our community. The politicians are starting to slightly acknowledge it. I think that I think it's almost like a surface acknowledgement, right? You know, Kamala, when she speaks on it, she talks around it in a way where she won't really directly address it. But do you feel that there is, are you happy with the progress that's been made in the fight for reparations? And I'd love to get any other thoughts you have on that in terms of how that battle should be fought.
Yeah, I just find it hard to see how people can have a commitment to truth and justice and not have a commitment to reparations, given the kind of economic and otherwise forms of damage against precious black people, hundreds and hundreds of years. How can we not want to find the truth about who constitutes the economic foundation of American democracy? Hard to say. When you find that truth out, and you find out what the damage, what kind of repair, well, that's what justice demand comes. And that's why Dougherty and the wonderful work that he's done with his academic team, as you know, from eternity, I forget the sister's name, but she played a very important role too. In that book, it's right over here, but in that book itself,
specifically in terms of reparations, I'd love to get everybody hear your perspective on what you think reparations should and would look like. If you've thought about that with your campaign, and just a framework, so that as we move forward, we'd be able to say, okay, this is what we're looking for. Because you know how it is in politics. Eventually, if we make them submit to giving something, they're gonna start off by offering us something silly, a bag of potato chips and a hot dog. So what would you say reparations should look like, Dr. West?
Yes. Well, one is we have to begin with the notion that no amount of money can ever repay what black people have been through in 400 years, beginning with the bones on the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. So that this is not a quid pro quo exchange kind of situation. We're talking about trying to get as much justice based on truth as we can, but the of the dignified Africans who were enslaved. That strikes me as a reasonable starting point. But then we've got to make sure we have a strong enough culture and infrastructure in place that the money that is given is not simply kind of just recycled and recirculated right into the same corrupt system that has been exploiting black people and poor people and working people all these years. So that there has to be some kind of massive transfer of wealth. There's no doubt about that. And I believe in just redistribution of wealth downward for citizens, no matter what color they are. I believe in free education. I believe housing ought to be a right. Healthcare ought to be a right. Safe communities ought to be a right. And that's true no matter what color you are. It's a citizen in the American empire. But when we talk about reparations, that has to do with black people, specifically black folk, who just became citizens in 1964 and still had to deal with mass incarceration, police brutalization, police murder, still have to deal with vicious images that circulate and therefore affect the hearts and minds and souls of black people, still have to deal with various forms of social marginalization and so on. So that I think the financial dimension has to be noted and is integral, but it's not the sole one that I talk about. $1 million, and within a matter of months or years, we'd be right back where we were because we haven't loved ourselves enough, respected ourselves enough to forge institutions, to forge infrastructures, so we would be able to flower and flourish over time as opposed to that one particular transfer of cash. And the strongest case for reparations, see, I sat at the feet of Queen Moore in Harlem. She was mayor of Harlem in the colloquial sense. And was one of the great proponents of reparations. That was way back in the 70s. And then with Randall Robinson, that blessing he just passed, who wrote The Debt and founder of Trans-Africa. I was on that board with Charles Ogletree and others. We had the struggles in Tulsa, reparations. We lost that case. But reparations is something that's been part and parcel of my life for over 45 years. And I'm just, it has to be an integral part of any serious talk about truth and justice in the country. And that's true for the Japanese, that's true for Jews in Germany. There's a whole lot of different cases that any Truth and Justice Commission would come up with a recommendation, a justice demand for reparations. Now, we were making some progress in California, as you know. Then we got again the political cowardliness of the Black Legislative Council. They passed the bill, and the governor says, don't put it on my desk because it's embarrassing. I'm running for president. If I sign it, I'm going to have trouble. If I don't sign, I'm going to have trouble. So don't even put it on my desk. And what did they do? Here's some $6 million for another commission, and then they put it on his desk. So that's just political cowardliness. See, all that work, all that struggle, put it on his desk and see what he does. Is he committed to truth and justice or not? This ain't no game. Well, no, most politicians locked in the legalized bribery and normalized corruption. They play the game. We ain't playing no games. Human beings down here under all these games you playing.
And now you heard the chance to hear Dr. Cornel West, presidential candidate 2024, talk about reparations. The sound quality may have not been the greatest, but neither is our listening ability if you can't understand what he said. I want you to hear the greatest speaker in the history of this country talk about reparations before we talk about the kickoff.
And how these right-wing memes, these Republican memes, have infiltrated the Democratic debate to suggest that, ending welfare as we know it, all those kind of things are somehow, great and noble things, when we're not dealing with the underlying problem, which is that there's no economic opportunity there because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest. which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. This is what we are faced with, and this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
From his speech, The Two Nations of Black America. And it's absolutely brilliant. And the next time some white person talks about, well, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps and my family did too, especially the Bundy boys. I mean, you know, here's Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. talking about how basically whites stole the West from the Indians with the complete, and didn't just steal it. I mean, murdered them he murdered the Indians in the process, and did not give any of these benefits to African Americans for 100 years in this country. You know, it's a strong case for reparations or some variation on it, for rebuilding our cities, for doing right after having done wrong for so many centuries. It is a very, very strong case for that.
Reparations forever. Reparations now. Reparations forever. As we stand up for the kickoff, I love talking about things that are real, and I know that the NFL is listening, and that's why they have on the back of the end zone, it takes all of us, and I know that it does, and I want to be a part of that. Imagine when more of our brethren, NFL football, NBA basketball, Major League Baseball, when they start championing the cause for reparations, the same would be championing the cause to end apartheid in South Africa. May Latin strike! I want to do the right thing, and I love doing that with Big C Sports. I got a lot of things happening with Big C Sports Podcast. I have some growth coming, and I have a commercial being worked on as I'm expanding my platform, and that's happening as we are breathing. As we are breathing, do you believe in breathing? Of course we do. I believe in breathing, and I believe in breathing the truth. I want the truth. You can handle the truth. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I have an infomercial that I want to read before I get to what's going on in the world of sports. As you know, I say a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I have a quiz. Pay attention. Here it goes. A guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth. I got Resource Development Consulting, Inc. in conjunction with the Law Office of Attorney Scott Thibodeau and the Law Office of Attorney George Jones. The Missing Link, Long-Term Care, Solutions by the Book, over 3 decades of experience, helping seniors get their benefits, Medicare and You, taking care of tomorrow. In California, it's called Medi-Cal. In other parts of the country, it's called Medicaid. Your family and spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. You can find out your options, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. I promise to you, specialized to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets without a spend down. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists. Ongoing consulting. Oh my goodness, we have a lot of ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary. Benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescription medications, medical equipment costs, and more. But not only that, protection of your assets, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family, avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program called probate. Believe me, if you don't have a will or trust, the probate courts will have one for you, and you will not like it. A one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. And that's not all. You know why? Because I'm not done yet. I tell you, I'm not done yet. I got more things I want to tell you about having the trust with the RDC team and Big C Sports Calls at Big C team. I'm going to tell you what it is. You got to know we have asset protection. Protection and insurance coverage required by a law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care, avoid probate, life insurance, veterans benefits, aid and attendance. What about fixed assets? We have your bank account. It protects your checking account, savings account, money market accounts, certificates of deposit, life insurance with the cash values, fixed index annuities, also protects your variable assets, real estate, qualified money, IRAs, 401ks, and other investments. For example, let's say you buy a house for $100,000, and then 1 year later that house appreciates to $1 million. That's a $900,000 capital gains. You avoid that with your property. And a trust, let your trust own everything. Over 3 decades of experience. Attention business owners. Attention business owners. You got to find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. When you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. I do want to also say we have endorsements. The late James Gomez, who advised 4 California governors and led change in California nursing homes. He also served on Golden One's board of directors for 21 years. He was the CEO of the California Association of Health Facilities. He endorsed the RDC team. Also, the late Robert Carlson. He was the top legal mind for CalPERS. He endorsed the RDC team. But not only that, I got to tell you, Charles Curry, co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project, also business development consultant with the RDC team, also owner of Big C Sports Podcast Corporation. I endorse the RDC team, but not only that, we have Double O. She's the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project, also consultant with the RDC team, and has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. You can Google it on Aztec Sacramento. She endorses the RDC team. You got to give that some praise. I say give it praise, 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 because we all know that a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I don't want to waste my mind, but I do love bringing you information on the trust that you got to have, and I love talking about the RDC team. I'm the only sports show that will always talk about this and give praise where praise is due. Before I get into sports, I want to give praise to the California Reparations Task Force, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I know there's some things that have been happening, some shenanigans that happened at the state capitol actually the last day of August. But things are going to be tabled until January. Reparations will happen. That's my straight up ticket with it. But I also want to give praise to the inimitable Dr. Shirley Weber, Secretary of the State of California, worked with Governor Gavin Newsom to put together a task force, irrespective of the rumors about Gavin Newsom wanting to block the vote on the task force, Reparations Task Force bill. I don't know, but the dirt will come out in the wash. What kind of person would not want to have justice in this country? That's just a fact. But I want to give praise to the chair, Camila Moore. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. She was just a guest on the Big C Sports Podcast last week. I love giving her praise. I'm going to give praise to Dr. Emmett C. Brown. He's the vice chair of the Reparations Task Force in California. He also came on the Big C Sports Podcast before he gave the benediction at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. I want to give him praise. I want to give praise to California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. He's like Moses when it comes to reparations, and I really do appreciate him. He was just on CNN earlier this week, actually. I do want to give praise to Council Member Monica Montgomery Stepp. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. And then Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer has a lot of explaining to do. Not only did he block the vote for reparations to be even voted on, he was shucking and jiving walking down the hallway after he was also on the Big C Sports Podcast just 2 weeks ago. And he was saying how he's such a proponent of reparations. But he wouldn't even have the vote counted. So I'll tell you, something don't smell right. They say if it talks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, if it walks like a duck, it's a duck. And he was walking like a duck through the halls of the state capitol making fun about not passing the vote. Doesn't make any sense to me. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grill. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Tamaki, part of the California Reparations Task Force. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. Give it all praise, and you can too. I say give it praise, praise, praise. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You know, there's so much to happen in life. I got to tell you tonight, are you ready for some football? Melody strike, touchdown! Debo Samuel, 50 yards! Everybody wants to hear that tonight at beautiful Levi Stadium in Denver Hills, California, known as Santa Clara, California, even though it's called San Francisco. On a beautiful September the 9th, 2024, the New York Jets will square off with the 49ers. That kickoff is already underway. It's week 1 of NFL football at Levi Stadium. And I'm telling you, the stadium's packed. The kickoff happened at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. And there's so much hype in the stadium for the 49ers. There's times where you feel you're in the right place. Aaron Rodgers coming back to the Bay Area. He grew up in Central California, up near Yuba City. And then he went to Cal Berkeley. And then he got drafted by the Green Bay Packers. He went to the Jets last year before he had an injury. But when I think about the 49ers and the Jets, I look at, again, I don't bet on sports, 800 Gambler. I just don't bet on sports. But there's a lot of people that want to bet on games. I was hearing by a good old boy, an attorney, that said that people are betting more on gaming than they are on the stock market. I don't know if that's true or not. But I got to tell you this. The 49ers are favored by 4. I think they'll cover that spread. And when I think about the over-under, it depends on who you talk to. I'll get into the over-under a little bit later. But this to me, is a big game for Aaron Rodgers because he's coming back against a team that's considered to be the best team in the NFC this year, and that's the 49ers. And I say that because the over-under is 43. The 49ers have one of the highest scoring teams in the NFL, and the Jets have one of the better defenses. So the odds and the lines are presented for the people who want to bet on games. But when you think about the players that can make a difference, it's Levi Stadium and that crowd noise. When I think about the crowd noise that it generates when you have the ball and you're Aaron Rodgers, they don't want to put him under the center because he did have that injury last year. He's going to be in the shotgun. When you're in the shotgun, it's harder for your offensive linemen to hear when you're doing the changing of plays. So when I'm looking at the better teams, obviously the 49ers are one of the better teams in the NFL. I won't even say the Jets are the best team in the AFC East. I'm looking at Miami, and I'm also looking at Buffalo when it comes to that. So how can they come to San Francisco and beat the team that's favored to win the NFC Championship again? I don't think that's possible for them to do that. I'm looking at the 49ers and having their weapons back. Deebo Samuels, of course, Christian McCaffrey. They signed Brandon Ayuk to a multi-year contract, getting $30 million a year over 4 years. So obviously he's going to be a special player tonight for the 49ers. And another thing that I got to look at, when you look at some of the great players for the 49ers, they got to keep Christian McCaffrey healthy. I know they want to run him a lot, but he has the ability to take the ball out of the backfield. He's good running out of the backfield, also catching out of the backfield. So he's got to keep your hands on him all the time if you're the Jets defense. Deebo Samuel, when he has the ball in his hand, he's one of the most exciting players in NFL football. You can get him the ball through the run or through the pass. He can go over the middle. He can also go downfield. And then you have Brandon Ayuk. He's the deep threat for the 49ers. Sure hands. And he was holding out for more money. He got himself more money. He's got to be a big-time player tonight. George Kittle, the tight end for the 49ers. He's a great player over the middle. I look at the fact that he can make those possession plays. He's not going to beat you deep downfield, but he's good at 15 yards and in for the 49ers, getting the ball into open space. If you look at the New York Jets, I got to tell you, to me, if touchdown Aaron Rodgers can play well, I remember I interviewed him last time they were in San Francisco. He was with the Green Bay Packers. I was asking him, what makes you so accurate with your passes? He says muscle memory. He's got to have a lot of muscle memory tonight because I do believe that the 49ers will put up a lot of points on the Jets, but can the Jets match them is the question. The Jets have some good cover guys, but when I think about the Jets and who you got to pay attention to, Breece Hall, also Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, and then at the same time, it's all about Aaron Rodgers. Will he have time against that defense to find players downfield? Because he won't have a lot of time to throw the ball with that pass rush and defense coming at him. That's my thought, and I'm sticking with it. But I do believe if you're the 49ers, it's going to be hard to keep them under 30 points. I think they're going to score at least 31 points tonight because they can score in every quarter. They have the offensive weapons through the air and on the ground. Trent Williams has been signed. He's the best left tackle in NFL football. He protects Brock Purdy's backside. So that's going to help the 49ers, in my opinion. what it comes down to for the Jets, can you keep Aaron Rodgers healthy? Latin is tight. Can they keep him healthy? And I think they will, but I think he'll get sacked 4 or 5 times. The defense is just too tough for the 49ers. That's my thought. I'm going with San Francisco winning 31-20 at Levi Stadium. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Dak Prescott signed a contract that would pay him $60 million a year, 4-year extension for $240 million. $60 million a year, and he looked every part as they went up against the Cleveland good old boys over the weekend. But I'm going to run back some NFL recap. The defending NFL champion Kansas City Chiefs 27, the Baltimore Ravens 20. What a game that was. Kansas City kicked off the NFL regular season with an exhilarating 27-20 victory over the Baltimore Ravens at Arrowhead Stadium. That was Thursday night. Mahomes 18 of 26, 280 yards passing and a touchdown. He also had an interception, and he had 3 drops on the play. At the same time, DeMar Jackson had almost 400 yards total offense, but it wasn't quite enough. You got to be a better passer than touchdown Patrick Mahomes. But what a great game for the NFL to open up on Thursday. Philadelphia 34, Green Bay Packers 29. It was the Eagles and the Packers that kicked off the 2024 season in fashion in South America and Brazil. A great game. It was 34-29, and the Eagles won that game. Jordan Love a little bit injured with his knee, but I think it's going to be fine. They'll put a brace on him. But I got to tell you, when you think about Saquon Barkley, he stole the show with the Eagles racking up 132 yards from scrimmage and scoring 3 touchdowns, even though it's about the quarterbacks in this game. But that was Saquon Barkley, and great game by the Eagles. Miami Dolphins 20, Jacksonville Jaguars 17. Miami Dolphins kicker Jason Sanders, he hit a 52-yard field goal as time expired in Week 1 with a 20-17 win over the in-state Jacksonville Jaguars. Tua Tagovailoa had 336 yards and a touchdown to lead Miami, and what a great game he had. Buffalo Bills came from behind 34, Arizona Cardinals 28. It was Josh Allen out of Fireball, California, threw 2 touchdown passes in the second half to lead the Buffalo Bills to a comeback 34-28 win over the Arizona Cardinals. What a game they had. Exciting finish. Pittsburgh Steelers 18, Atlanta Falcons 10 with Russell touchdown. Wilson sidelined due to a calf injury. It was Justin Fields who played for the Bears last year in Chicago. He took the reins and led the Steelers to an 18-10 win over the Atlanta Falcons and had a lot of support by Chris Boswell's standout kicking performance. That good old boy, Boswell, nailed 6 field goals, 3 of which from beyond 50 yards. What a great game he had for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Minnesota Vikings 28, the New York Giants 6. What kind of jerseys were the Giants wearing? A throwback jersey. It did not help them. Sam Darnold delivered 2 touchdown passes in a strong debut for the Minnesota Vikings, helping his team to a dominant 28-6 win over the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium. I'm telling you, he looked like he was the number 1 pick again. All's fair in love and war. The Seattle Seahawks 26, Denver Broncos 20. That was a Super Bowl rematch from about a decade ago. Seattle made it a forgettable debut for Denver's first-round quarterback, Bo Nix, who came out of the University of Oregon by way of Auburn. He had a bevy of turnovers, worthy plays, and the Seahawks dropped 2 interceptions and hauled in 2 others in their 26-20 Week 1 win. What a great stadium at Lumen Field up in Seattle, Washington. The Los Angeles Chargers, Coach Jim Harbaugh wins his debut for the Chargers 22-10 over the Raiders. Running back J.K. Dobbins returned to the field from a torn Achilles in his first game with the Chargers and proved to be the spark they needed. He rushed for 135 yards and a touchdown, forcing 4 missed tackles along the way. And the Raiders get off to another losing start to the season. They should have stayed in Oakland. They could have stayed in Oakland. They had a winning record versus the Chargers when they were in Oakland. Not so now that they're in Vegas. The Houston Texans. How about those Texans? 29. Indianapolis Colts 27. It was a battle of 2 of the NFL's most promising young quarterbacks. It lived up to the billing. The Houston Texans, C.J. Stroud, and the Indianapolis Colts, Anthony Richardson, had led their team to Week 1 contest, a 29-27 win. That looked like a playoff game. Those 2 teams were battled for their division. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. How about who that say they gonna beat them Saints? The New Orleans Saints 47, the Carolina Panthers 10. Carolina quarterback Bryce Young, last year's number 1 overall pick, continues to have some issues. He doesn't have a great offensive line, and that's just going to mean he's going to throw a lot of passes that maybe he shouldn't pass, trying to get the ball out of his hands sooner But the Oilers, I'm telling you, the New Orleans Saints, they took advantage of the bad offensive line play by the Panthers and it demolished them 47-10. You don't see those kind of scores in an NFL game, but you got to look at Derek Carr. He had a great game for the Saints. The Raiders could have used them against the Chargers. Be that as it may. Who that say they're going to beat them Saints? Well, it wasn't Carolina. Chicago Bears 24, Tennessee Titans 17. The Bears are who you thought they are. You want to crown them? And touchdown maker at USC. First round pick, Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams' NFL debut, managed 24 unanswered points to knock off the Tennessee Titans in week 1. Now, Williams is not that great of a player on the field, but he knows it's just one game. The Bears defense and special teams stepped up and put up 14 points to knock off the Titans. But I tell you, Williams, it's the first time in 15 games that a number one pick has started and got a win. So there's a lot of hope because the Bears have a great defense. Caleb's going to be fine, just as a player within his system, and not try to run around like a Patrick Mahomes, but stand more in the pocket, if that makes sense to you. New England 16, Cincinnati Bengals 10. How about all the hype over the Cincinnati Bengals? The Bengals entered the halftime with no score on the scoreboard against the New England Patriots. How many thought that would happen? The Bengals clawed back to a narrow deficit in the second half. A lot of self-inflicted wounds, but this is not the team that people thought they would be. And I think they're not going to finish in the top 2 of their division. To me, I'm just saying, when you look at their division, Baltimore's going to be good. And I think the Steelers will also be good. And even though you still got to realize that Cleveland and Cincinnati, the great teams from Ohio, they may bring up the abyss in that division. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 37, the Washington Commanders 20. And all eyes were on rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels, who won the Heisman Trophy out of LSU by Arizona State. And Tampa Bay quarterback touchdown Baker Mayfield, who stole the show. He led his team to a 37-20 win over the Washington Commanders in week 1. Mayfield was sharp throughout competing. He was 23 of 29, passed 257 yards and 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Daniels, however, had a notable debut, becoming the first quarterback in NFL history to rush for 80 yards and score 2 rushing touchdowns in his first career start. But he's going to have to learn to pass the ball more than just being a running back with the ball in his hand, if that makes sense to you. How about those Cowboys? Dallas Cowboys gave Dak Prescott a 4-year extension worth $240 million, $60 million a year, and touchdown Dak Prescott made his Super Bowl intentions clear just after securing a 4-year, $240 million deal with the Cowboys. They dominated Cleveland 33-17 in their opener in Cleveland. Now, Prescott's deal, which makes him the first player to average $60 million per year. It ends months of speculation about his future with the Cowboys as Jerry Jones wrote the check, and the check, rumor has it, has not bounced. And he led his team to 3 straight 12-win seasons. This year, it would be 4 straight. Prescott was 19 of 32, 179 yards, and a 21-yard touchdown to Brandon Cooks in the first quarter. The Cowboys put the 27-3 lead, and it was all Cowboys defense. The defense and special teams really got that game won for them. The Detroit Lions, the 26, Los Angeles Rams 20. The Lions and the Rams, they battled until the very end, overcoming a strong effort from touchdown Matthew Stafford, who used to play in Detroit, and the Los Angeles Rams with David Montgomery's overtime touchdown in a 26-20 victory in Week 1 at Ford Field. Detroit looks good. The Rams look good too. But what a game that was. That crowd's nuts, and they're starving for more of a playoff run in Detroit. But despite holding a 17-10 lead going into the fourth quarter, the Lions surrendered 10 unanswered points to fall behind late, but a timely field goal forced overtime where they sealed the win with a touchdown in the opening drive. Whatever you think about Detroit's football team, last year was not a fluke. They're a good team. They're solid. The Rams look good too, and I love the way the Rams played, especially going on the road, but it's hard to get a win on the road opener in front of a crowd like that where they were just starving for another playoff run. And I think this year, Detroit's going to get it. They're tough. Green Bay's tough. Minnesota's not so much. And the Bears, we'll see if the Bears are who we thought they were. If the Bears are who we thought they were, that's my story. And I'm sticking with it. I love football tonight already in beautiful San Francisco, Santa Clara. The defending NFC champion is San Francisco 49ers. They are hosting the New York Jets and touchdown Aaron Rodgers. Can't wait to get more into that game. But that's gonna be the highlight of NFL football week 1 to end closing out in San Francisco. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. May lightning strike. Are you ready for more football? Of course you are. What about those good boys from Texas? They went up to Michigan, and they put a beat down of the Michigan Wolverines. It was a drama-filled week. It's week 2. Easy to say that a few of those top 25 teams are unhappy. What happened to Notre Dame being knocked up by Northern? Oh, my God. I'll get into that later. I can't believe they went down and beat Texas A&M at College Station, and they come back and they lay an egg at their home stadium. But Michigan, the reigning national champions, suffered an embarrassing loss at home to the Texas team that looks really good and ready to make a run of its own. And then the Utah Utes quarterback Cam Rising missed the entire second half against the Baylor Bears because of a hand injury. And then Notre Dame, that did not play like a champion, dealt the biggest upset of the season so far, with Northern Illinois beating the Fighting Irish 16-14 at Notre Dame Stadium. They were not playing like a champion. And what does Michigan need to focus on after this upset? I'm telling you, Michigan's a good team. But don't look past the Texas playing for the SEC championship this year. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. But I'm going to give you my thoughts, and I'll start at the top, or maybe I'll start at the bottom. I like doing Big C's top 10 college football teams, and everybody has their thoughts on who should be the number 1 team. But I'm going to tell you, starting out, there were so many great football games played over the weekend, it's hard to pick who's number 1. But I can tell you, in my opinion, I got Big C's thoughts on who's number 10 at my story. I'm sticking with it. I'm going to go with the quack. The Oregon Ducks. The Oregon Ducks. The Ducks did it again. They faced off against a tough but much less talented team in the Boise State Broncos. Oregon, they notched out a win in the final seconds of the close game thanks to a walk-off field goal, and the Ducks offense did not do itself any favors. They had a fair share of big plays and mistakes. But Boise State, I'm telling you, Boise State, they're a feisty team. Now, when you think about they barely got past Boise, Dylan Gabriel had a good game. His team was full of new players trying to figure out how to play. But this Boise, the last time they played Georgia, they beat Georgia down in Georgia 35-7. The last time they played Oklahoma, they beat Oklahoma. So you're going back a decade ago, but they get up for the big games. So don't look too close at Oregon having a tough game against Boise State. Again, last time Boise State played Georgia, Boise State beat them 35-7. The last time Boise State played Oklahoma, Boise State beat them also in a bowl game. So I'm going to give Oregon favor and keep them in Big C's top 10. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I got number 9 in Big C's college football top 10. The Penn State Nittany Lions, they suffered an apparent week 2 hangover following their impressive season opening victory at West Virginia with 4 minutes remaining in the game. Penn State led Bowling Green by just a field goal, and then Nicholas Singleton reeled off a 41-yard touchdown to give Penn State a cushion in a 34-27 victory. But sometimes you don't always play up. But Penn State's a very good team. Their defense is legit. I got number 8 in Big C's college football power rankings. I'm going to go with a team that maybe people feel I shouldn't put them this high. I got to go with the Alabama Crimson Tide. I know they struggled at first against Central Florida, but on a night the field at Bryant-Denny Stadium was renamed in longtime coach Nick Saban's honor. It was anything but smooth for the Crimson Tide. They were clinging to a 21-16 lead over South Florida, and there's a lot of penalties in that game. The final score of 42-16, but it wasn't as impressed as I should be by an Alabama team, but I put them number 8. I got number 7 in Big C's college football power rankings. I got the USC Trojans. If the Trojans win over LSU, a beatdown of the LSU Tigers in Las Vegas, the game was not as close as the score. Should have been a 10 or 14-point victory, but they won 27-20. And people say, well, their defense is much better. This team, no Caleb Williams around, they have become the USC of the days of Pete Carroll. They hosted Utah State in its home opener. It was a beatdown, 48-0. Sheer dominance. The score alone doesn't properly show you the dominance of USC. It established a run nearly 250 yards on the ground. And then Miller Moss looks like a Heisman Trophy candidate for Lincoln Riley. He also played great. in this USC football team. Their defense got the first shutout since they shut out UCLA in 2011. Now, they're in the Big Ten Conference now. They're going to have to play physical football, and I think they're showing that they will. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I got number 6 in Big C's college football power rankings. I got the Miami Hurricanes. They did what they're supposed to do. They had a 56-9 win over Florida A&M in its first 2 games. Miami has beaten its opponents by its combined score of 97-26. Remember, they blew out Florida just last week. Quarterback Cam Ward, who played at Washington State last year, he became the first Miami player with 300 yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown in a game since Malik Rozier against Toledo in 2017. I like what Miami's doing. They're very fast. They're physical. It's like the Canes of old when they went by the U. The U did their thing. That's my story. I'm taking with it. Number 5 in Big C's college football power rankings. The Tennessee Volunteers. It was close, and then it wasn't. Under 4 minutes remaining in the first half. Duke's Classic, the Mayo Classic in Charlotte. The Volunteers led NC State, North Carolina State, 10-3, and the Wolfpack were driving. But Tennessee's defensive back, Will Brooks, 85-yard pick 6, it opened the floodgates, and the Volunteers cruised to a 51-10 blowout. Tennessee's good. That was not a fluke. They are good, and I like them challenging in the SEC. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I got in Big C's college football power rankings, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, can you pass reparations now? Ole Miss has performed exactly as expected, explosive on offense, smothering on defense, and undefeated. I'm telling you, the Rebels steamrolled their way to a second straight blowout victory at home against an outman opponent in Middle Tennessee State. But Ole Miss has rolled up 1,437 yards and scored 128 points in its first 2 games. They're a good team. You got to realize Ole Miss is not your regular Ole Miss, if that makes sense to you. I got number 3 in Big C's college football power rankings. I got the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Buckeyes came out clicking offensively in week 2. They followed with a sluggish start in the season opening win against Akron. Ohio State scored touchdowns on its first 3 possessions, highlighted by Jeremiah Smith electrifying 70-yard touchdown reception. They beat Western Michigan 56-0, and of course, you would expect them to beat Western Michigan by the score of 56-0. I got number 2 in Big C's college football power rankings. I got the good old boys, roof. The good old boys from Stone Mountain, Georgia. The Georgia Bulldogs, number 2. Yeah, number 2. Through 2 weeks, Georgia's been nothing short of dominant. The Bulldogs took down nationally ranked Clemson 34-3 on August 31st in Atlanta, and then cruised past the FCS foe Georgia Tech, the Golden Eagles, on Saturday. It was a 48-3 beat down at home. The Bulldogs are 2-0. That's right, they're 2-0, have yet to give up a touchdown on defense, and the only points they surrendered Saturday came on a field goal to end the game. For 2 weeks in a row, quarterback Carson Beck has been in total control. He's completed 11 of his first 11 passes and tossed 5 touchdowns to 5 different players. I got to tell you, Georgia's good, and I'm impressed by how well they played. Georgia's now won 41 straight regular season games. But I got number 1 in Big C's college football universe, the Texas Longhorns. The stars shine bright deep in the night, deep in the heart of Texas. Why would I put Texas over Georgia? That's won 41 regular season. Because Texas went up to Michigan, and they were up 24-3 in the Big House. Michigan has not lost a game in many moons. They were defending national champions. They've been in the college football playoffs the last 2 years. And you go up into the Big House, and the game was not as close as the score. And it was 31-12. Believe it was not that close. The second straight year, Quinn Ewers led Texas to a big win in a non-conference road game, snapping Michigan's 16-game winning streak and 32 games in the regular season, a season after beating Alabama and Tuscaloosa. Ewers completed 24 of 36 passes, 246 yards, and 3 touchdowns, including 7 passes to tight end Gunnar Helm, who had 98 receiving yards. The Longhorns dominated the Wolverines 24-3 at halftime at Michigan. That's the best team in the country, at least after week 2. That's my story. I'm taking with it. The Texas defense was so good, and the offense was great, and they stuffed the Wolverines, who had just 80 rushing yards in their run team. Also intercepted 2 Davis Warren passes. As statements go, this was a very loud one. I got Big C's number 1 in the college football universe, the Texas Longhorns. How about those Texans? Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. For people that say, well, why would I put Texas over Georgia? The common opponent was Texas and Georgia. The last time Georgia played Alabama, Alabama won. It was a close game in the SEC championship game. The last time Texas played Alabama, they beat Alabama at Tuscaloosa. It was 34-14. Similar players are back. I have Texas right now ranked number 1 in the country. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Well, as you know, I love football, and you love it too. I love reparations. I love when politicians do the right thing. I love having to play an excerpt from Dr. Cornel West on Dr. Boyce Watkins' show. I love talking about the California Reparations Task Force because it's not over yet. And I love bringing it high school football, modern day Santa Ana, number 1 in the country. They knocked off number 2, Bishop Gorman of Las Vegas, 31-15. And the National High School Football Game of the Week, Big C Sports brought it to you. I want to tell you, I love college football. I love NFL football. Sports brings everybody together. I love the talk that politicians are no longer afraid to talk about reparations. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, on every Big C Sports podcast, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can walk it off, you can sleep it off, but don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car and start driving after they've been drinking. The life you say may be your own, or someone you love, or someone who loves you, or someone who's loved by somebody else. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that crap on their own. If you're going through that garbage, you need more leader in your life. Leader is an acronym for love is the answer. If somebody's slapping you, only slap you because it made me mad. Call 911. If someone's kicking you, only kicks you because it made me mad. Call 911. If someone's choking you out, only chokes you out because it made me mad. Pick up the phone and call 911. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that crap. And things change when the police call. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you, I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy. On my mother's side, my great-grandparents, Mama and Pop, they were loving, kind people, always made sure lots of love with the family and lots of food in the belly. Always saying, wash your hands before you come in and get into the refrigerator, boy. But I'm hungry, great-grandma. I don't have time to wash my hands. You better wash your hands in this house. Okay, great-grandma, I wash my hands. Always giving lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly. And my great-grandfather, former Negro League baseball player and military man, loved them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful grandparents, Muddy and Hezekiah, they were seers. They can oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. I love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. They still help me to this day. And I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Always saying rise and shine. The best person I ever met in my life. I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Dear mama, you hear my praise. I'm always praising. On my beautiful father's side, my grandparents, Albert and Alberta Curry, they were pastors. They had 3 churches. They owned 2 gas stations in Oakland. They also owned 40 acres of land. I was 8 years old walking through the hallway about 10 o'clock at night. I felt someone touch me on my forehead. She said, what are you doing, young man, going to get some cookies? I said, what are you doing, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, what are you doing, young man, going to get some cookies? I said, cookies are baby crap to what I'm doing, Grandma. I'm going to get my reparations. But a couple of cookies wouldn't hurt. It's been a long wait. She said, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. And now Big C Sports Podcast is streaming all over the universe. Love my grandparents with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And they also own the 40 acres of land. And then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night, always saying develop your mind to its highest extent. Oh, I love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful brother Todd, I'm telling you, a voracious reader, sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Always saying go forward. In fact, he's saying don't look back because you don't have much backside. I said, I love my backside, Todd. But he said my backside wasn't big enough. That's why I've been doing more squats. But Todd and I, we love Malcolm X. But we also love the movie Pulp Fiction. And a lot of football players understand this part. It was when Ben Raines with Bruce Willis and Sam Jackson and John Travolta, they talked about your butt goes down in the 5th round. And I want to say thoughts and prayers to James Earl Jones. Heard that he went home today, 93 years old, a great life and a great voice. This is CNN. He also played the voice of Darth Vader on Star Wars. Thoughts and prayers to his family. And in the movie Pulp Fiction, other great actors as well. Ben Rames told Bruce Willis before the big fight, he said, your butt goes down in the 5th round. Sit up, man. And so Bruce Willis said, okay, my butt goes down in the 5th round. And he told him, he said, that's digging sensation you're feeling. Well, that's just pride. Flipping with you. And he told him what a lot of athletes say to each other. He said, blood pride. He said, pride only hurts. It never helps. He says, football's filled with a lot of unrealistic motherly bluckers who think that butt gets better with time like fine wine. But it don't. In terms of vinegar, then it do. You're going to thank Uncle Marsalis when you're chilling on the Caribbean. Now take this money and remember what I told you. But we know that Bruce Willis didn't take the money and he lost his LA privileges. I love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. I really do appreciate you, Todd. And then my beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years from a major university. I tell you, Daisy, you can be anything you want to be. Daisy said at the very first interview with Big C Sports at Salem Media, it became the first time in the history of this country that NFL Monday Night Football, like tonight, was broadcast live on the Wall Street Business Network because of 2 black men of the crew. They've made budget for the first time in 44 years and 1 month. Called us the Dream Team, but you know, shenanigans set in, and that's the way it is. Because shenanigans set in. Daisy, you can be anything you want to be. Always trust God, Isaiah 54:17. That no weapon formed against you will prosper. You can be anything you want to be. Love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College graduate, very smart, erudite, a good man. You can be anything you want. Malcolm, always trust God. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get the newspaper to look up stats for Big C Sports podcast for players and teams. And one day Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went up. I've been Googling ever since. Now on 29 podcast platforms and streaming on 4 TV platforms. One day Malcolm said, Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. Now they're working on a commercial for Big C Sports podcast. Malcolm, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, so you can be anything you want to be. Always trust God. Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. And then Big C, with all that wealth and knowledge over the years, like my great-grandparents coming out of that barn, where their church buddies always saying, you gotta believe, you gotta believe, you gotta believe, saying, let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. As we nominated Big C Sports Podcast, I have no scripts, I have no teleprompters, I have no producer in my ear. All I have was this gland in the brain called the pineal gland. The ancients call it the third eye. They say that's how you talk to God, and that's why I scream so loud, because I want God to hear me. God, you hear my praise. You hear my praise, praise, praise. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. As I pay homage to a great boxer, Muhammad Ali. Back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want to say reparations now, reparations forever. And then I float like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee. There was no fighter greater than Muhammad Ali. And I always end every Big C Sports podcast paying homage to the inimitable Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and President Abraham Lincoln. What should we be saying with our politicians? Reparations at last! Reparations at last! Thank God Almighty! Reparations at last! Say it again! Reparations at last! Reparations at last! Thank God Almighty! Reparations at last! Say it like you just won the game! Reparations at last! Reparations at last! Thank God Almighty! Reparations at last! I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.